Hello everyone. Hello everyone. How are you today? I'm really good. And do you know why I'm really good? I have got one of my musical heroes on Zoom virtually with me right at the moment. This guy has been around the block with everyone and he's met everyone, and we're going to hear all about it in a second. I've just been chatting to him just beforehand. We are on Zoom, we are virtual. You'll hear why in a second from the tones of his voice in a second. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, big drum roll. There's a bit of a clue for you. It is Mr. Richard Colburn. How you doing, Richard?
Hi, nice, Simon. Nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me on to the show. Thank you very much,
Richard. As you possibly know, we are a Norfolk station down in East Anglia. You don't sound like you come from this region.
No. Well spotted.
Come on. It's not India and Pakistan. I can tell that much, but I can't quite get where you're from. Where are you from, Richard?
I'm from Perth originally, but I'm sitting in our studio in Glasgow as we speak.
Oh, that's another bit of a clue, isn't it? Our studio. So we'll get onto that in a little second. Wow. Yeah. Okay, Richard. So I can see what's going on in the studio. I can see behind you and what is there. But tell our listeners, because they can't see, what do you play? What instrument do you play?
I play drums mostly.
You're a drummer. You're a drummer and a percussionist as well. Which I always think is a slightly different thing as a drummer, but
I've dabbled.
You've dabbled. That sounds great. And just so our listeners know where you are, what you're up to, what are some of the big names that you've played with band wise?
Well, the band I've played in for the longest since, I don't know, 1995, I suppose, would be Belle and Sebastian. Wow. I also tour with, on and off, with Snow Patrol.
Snow Patrol, blimey, that's pretty big, yeah.
Yeah, and just bits and bobs, you know. I do a lot of DJing. What else? Yeah, I've played with different bands on and off over the years, just little sessions here and there, you know. On and off, just when things come up, you know, you jump into them, and I've forgotten most of them, to be honest, but those are the two bands that well, Belle and Sebastian is my main band, and you know, I was doing some shows with Snow Patrol last year where I do a little bit of keyboards, but then mostly percussion.
Wow, well, there's some pretty big names, so we'll talk about those in a little while. Let's take you back a couple of years when you were just a kid growing up. So drums, I've got a funny feeling that in your family you've got some musical talents from your grandfather, particularly, but he wasn't a drummer. So tell us a little bit about him and what influence he had.
I have a bit of previous, definitely. Well, my grandfather was a Scottish accordionist, like a sort of virtuoso accordionist, and he opened a music shop, I think it was about 1959, and unfortunately it closed a few years back. Music shops these days, it's quite a hard gig because of, you know, the internet and so on, but we had it for over 50 years, and he used to teach a lot. He used to sell all over the UK, and I was brought up with the shop, and my mother and father worked in the shop also. It was very much a family business, so I would find myself delivering pianos and accordions and organs and all sorts of things all over Scotland when I was quite young. And the other side of my family, my dad's side, I'm fourth generation drummer. Oh. So my great uncle was a drummer, my granddad was a drummer, my dad is a drummer, and of course I'm a drummer. So we'll see what happens with my son and my daughter. Who knows?
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. So when I'm presuming you working in a music shop, that's probably where you first sort of got to play the drums, or maybe it was your father's drums. I don't know, but tell us, when did you first start?
Yeah, well, it was my dad's drums. Yeah. There's a photograph of me at age 5 playing at a wedding, actually, that he was playing at, but I think what he used to do is he said, you know what, I could do with a pint or something, you know, and I'd, right, you, on.
5 years old.
All right, Dad.
Wow.
So, but it's kind of funny because I had all these opportunities as a kid, but I kind of rebelled against music because every member of my family kind of played something. So I ended up playing snooker. I was going to be a professional snooker player. So I until about the age of 19, 20, I suppose. So I kind of dabbled in music sporadically up until that point. I used to play with John Higgins and Stephen Hendry and all these kind of guys through in Stirling. Yeah. And then I kind of fell out of love with it. And I thought, well, there's no point if you don't put 100% in, why bother? So then I gave that up and I kind of slowly got back into music. The drums found me.
Good,
They came
good.
looking and they found me. So I actually went to college to do a sound engineering course just because it was better than getting a job at the time. And then I fell back into it, as you do.
That's amazing. Well, you know, cue in the hand and the stick in the hand. Maybe it's similar sort of things. Maybe you can do it like that. So I'm guessing you got into bands as a younger player and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Well, what sort of stuff were you doing?
As a kid, I mean, I played in a few bands, I suppose, when kind of my mid-teens, and I was kind of into like American guitar bands at the time, like early REM stuff like that. Husker Du, kind of sort of punkish new wave of American music. I guess maybe mid-80s or thereabouts, whatever was happening around about that time. That was kind of like my main thing.
And who were you listening to drum-wise?
Drum-wise, do you know what? I'm trying to think. Maybe The Who, maybe like Keith Moon at that point. Because I did have a little thing for The Who. And I suppose Stuart Copeland, I really loved The Police as well, early on.
I love a bit of The Police. In fact, I love them so much. I've got some of their stuff on the computer right now. So I think we'll take a bit of The Police. What do you fancy? I mean, I've got on it. What have we got? Roxanne on here. Stand Close to Me. What are the other ones we've got on here? Quite a few. Anything particular stands out for you?
Yeah, well, I mean, the first album I got was Regatta de Blanc. So
the big one, yeah.
Anything off that, you know.
Okay. Well, let's try some Police then. We'll be back after this.